Three, two, one.
Our world is filled with echoes of the past. We see them in the crumbling ruins of great empires and hear them in the stories passed down through generations. These remnants tell us who we were and how we came to be. But some places hold secrets far older, whispers from a time so deep that we thought it was lost to silence forever. One such place lies in the rolling hills of modern-day Turkey, a site that has completely reshaped our understanding of the human story. It is called Göbekli Tepe. It is not a city nor a fortress, but something else entirely. Something that speaks to the very soul of our ancient ancestors. Imagine standing on a windswept hilltop, the sun casting long shadows across the dry earth. For thousands of years, this place was known only as a gentle mound, a potbelly hill to the local people. They believed it was a place of rest, perhaps an old cemetery. But beneath the surface, a breathtaking secret was waiting. It was a secret that would challenge everything we thought we knew about the dawn of civilization. This was not a simple burial ground. It was a cathedral from the Stone Age, a gathering place for people who lived at the very beginning of our settled world. A place of extraordinary vision and profound mystery. The story of its discovery is one of serendipity and incredible insight. In the 1960s, surveyors noted the hill but dismissed it as little more than a medieval outpost. It wasn't until a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt visited in 1994 that its true nature began to emerge. He saw massive T-shaped limestone pillars peeking from the soil. He recognized them not as simple headstones, but as something far more significant. With a knowing eye, he understood that he was standing on the precipice of a discovery that would send ripples through the worlds of archaeology and history. He knew, almost instantly, that this was his life's work. What Schmidt and his team began to unearth was simply astonishing. It was a complex of immense stone circles, built with a skill and artistry that seemed impossible for its time. These were not the crude huts of a forgotten tribe. This was a monumental structure, a sacred landscape built to last an eternity. As more earth was carefully brushed away, the scale of the site became clear. Enclosure after enclosure was revealed, each one a ring of towering pillars, some weighing as much as 16 tons. The world was looking at the oldest temple ever found, a place of worship that predated almost everything we considered ancient. To truly grasp the significance of Göbekli Tepe, we must travel back in time. Let us think of the great wonders of the ancient world. Stonehenge, that magnificent circle of stones on the Salisbury Plain in England, is about 5,000 years old. It is a powerful symbol of our prehistoric past. Then we have the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, a marvel of engineering and human ambition, constructed around 4,500 years ago. These monuments have captivated us for centuries, standing as testaments to the ingenuity of early civilizations. They represent the pinnacle of what we thought ancient people could achieve. Now let us journey even further back. Göbekli Tepe is not just a little older than these famous landmarks. It is profoundly older. The first stones were raised here around 11,600 years ago. This is a staggering leap into the past. It is more than twice as old as Stonehenge. It was built 7,000 years before the pyramids. This was a time before writing had been invented, before the wheel had been conceived, and even before pottery was made. It existed in a world so ancient that the last ice age had only just ended. The landscape was different, the animals were different, and humanity itself was on the cusp of a great change. This immense age places Göbekli Tepe in a category all its own. When its creators were carving these massive pillars, the world was a very different place. Great beasts like the woolly mammoth still roamed parts of the earth. The Sahara Desert was a lush green savanna. Human beings, as we understood them, were thought to be living in small, nomadic bands. They were hunter-gatherers, following herds of wild animals and collecting edible plants to survive. They had not yet learned to farm the land or domesticate animals. Their lives were dictated by the seasons and the constant search for food. The discovery of this site was therefore a shock to our timeline of human progress. It was as if we had found a modern skyscraper in the middle of the Roman Empire. The accepted story was that complex societies and monumental architecture only appeared after the invention of agriculture. Farming, we believed, allowed people to settle down, create surplus food, and develop specialized skills. Only then could they have the time and resources to build something so grand. Göbekli Tepe turns this entire idea on its head. It suggests the story of civilization did not begin with a loaf of bread, but with a spiritual quest. People. The builders of Göbekli Tepe were not farmers. They did not live in permanent villages or cities. Archaeological evidence tells us they were hunter-gatherers, people of the late Stone Age. They lived a life that we once imagined as simple, a day-to-day struggle for survival. They hunted wild gazelle, boar, and birds. They foraged for wild grasses, nuts, and berries. They used tools made of flint and bone. By all accounts, their lives were deeply connected to the natural world, moving with the rhythm of the wild herds and the changing seasons. Yet, these so-called simple hunters achieved something extraordinary. They came together on this hilltop and embarked on a construction project of immense scale and complexity. They quarried, carved, and transported colossal pillars of limestone, some standing over 5 meters tall. How did they do it? Without metal tools, without wheels, without beasts of burden, they somehow managed to shape these stones and move them from a nearby quarry. This would have required incredible cooperation and organization. Hundreds of people must have worked together, united by a common purpose that was powerful enough to command their devotion. The very idea of this is revolutionary. It suggests that hunter-gatherer societies were far more complex and capable than we ever gave them credit for. They were not just scattered bands focused solely on finding their next meal. They were able to organize large-scale workforces, plan for the long term, and share a sophisticated system of beliefs. This was a society rich in culture, symbolism, and spiritual life. The construction of Göbekli Tepe was not a side project. It must have been the central focus of their world, a sacred duty that brought different groups together from across the region. What compelled them to undertake such a monumental task? The answer seems to lie in the purpose of the site itself. Göbekli Tepe was not a home. There is no evidence of permanent settlement, no hearths for cooking, no domestic houses. Instead, all signs point to it being a place of ritual and ceremony. It was a temple, perhaps the very first one. It appears that the human need for meaning, for a connection to the cosmos, was the driving force. The urge to build a sacred space came before the urge to build a city. Spirituality, it seems, may have been the catalyst for civilization itself. The true magic of Göbekli Tepe is found in its art. The T-shaped pillars are not blank stones. They are covered in a stunning array of intricate carvings, a window into the minds of our ancestors. These are not random doodles. They are masterful reliefs, depicting a world teeming with life. The artists carved with incredible skill, bringing the stone to life with images of the creatures that shared their world. We see snarling foxes, powerful bulls, long-legged cranes, and scuttling spiders. There are lions, boars, gazelles, and snakes winding their way across the surfaces of the pillars. These are not the animals that people were eating every day. While they hunted gazelle, the carvings are dominated by fearsome predators and other symbolically potent creatures. This suggests the art was not just a menu of what was for dinner. It was a complex symbolic language. Perhaps these animals were guardians of the sacred space, or characters in the great myths and stories of these people. The pillars themselves are stylized human figures, with hands and arms carved in low relief on their sides. They stand in silent circles, like a gathering of powerful, faceless beings watching over the ceremonies. The imagery is both beautiful and unsettling. On one pillar, a vulture is depicted, a creature often associated with death and the spirit world in ancient cultures. On another, a headless human figure is shown surrounded by these birds of prey. This has led some to believe the site was used for complex funerary rituals, perhaps a place where the dead were left to be consumed by vultures before their bones were buried. It was a place where the worlds of the living, the dead, and the spirits all came together, a gateway between different realms of existence. What does it all mean? That is the ultimate enigma of Göbekli Tepe. Without any form of writing, we can never be entirely sure what these symbols represented to the people who carved them. They are messages from a lost world, a visual language whose key has been lost to time. We can only gaze in wonder and speculate about their beliefs. Were these gods, spirit animals, ancestors? The carvings invite us to imagine the rich and vibrant inner world of these ancient people, a world of myth and magic that was strong enough to inspire the building of a mountain temple. One of the most profound mysteries of Göbekli Tepe is not how it was built, but how it ended. After more than 1,000 years of use, a strange thing happened. The site was not conquered, destroyed, or simply abandoned to the winds of time. Instead, its creators deliberately and carefully buried it. They filled the magnificent stone circles with millions of cubic feet of earth, rubble, and animal bones. They entombed their own sacred temple, hiding it from the world. This act of burial was as monumental as the act of construction itself. Why would a society spend centuries building such a masterpiece, only to bury it? This question has puzzled archaeologists since the site's discovery. Perhaps the rituals and beliefs associated with Göbekli Tepe came to an end. A new way of life, agriculture, was beginning to take hold in the region. Maybe the temple represented an old world that they needed to leave behind. Burying it may have been a way of respectfully decommissioning the sacred space, putting its powerful spirits to rest as humanity moved into a new chapter of its story. It was a ceremonial farewell to an entire way of life. This act of burial is the very reason Göbekli Tepe survived in such pristine condition. By covering their creation, its builders inadvertently created a time capsule. The earth protected the delicate carvings from thousands of years of erosion and human interference. It preserved the pillars and their secrets for us to find, waiting patiently beneath the pot-belly hole. What we see today is just a fraction of what lies hidden. Only about 5% of the entire site has been excavated. We can only imagine what other enclosures, what other carvings, what other secrets are still sleeping beneath the ground. Göbekli Tepe stands as a powerful reminder that our past is much deeper and more mysterious than we ever imagined. It tells us that our ancestors were not just primitive survivors, but deep thinkers, artists, and engineers. It suggests that the human journey towards civilization was not a simple linear path, but a complex story driven by the profound need for community and meaning. Standing at the site today, one feels an overwhelming sense of awe. We are looking at the birthplace of an idea, the idea that we can shape the world to reflect our inner cosmos. It is a message in stone, left by the very first of us, asking us to remember that the search for wonder is where our story truly begins.